These reflections are titled Into the Blue. Did you know that blue is the most common favorite color? I did some research on the color blue. Blue has been shown to be a relaxing color, and it can actually lower heart rate, blood pressure, even body temperature, and slow our breathing. Did you also know that there is a field of study known as color psychology, which is the study of color as a determinant of human behavior, the way color influences perceptions and emotional responses? And blue is associated with the sky and the sea. So there is a sense of spaciousness, of dependability and consistency with blue. Serenity rather than passion is blue's domain. And introspective journeys, depth of understanding, and wisdom are associated with blue. The deep indigo of stormy seas can make us feel unsettled or afraid. And we know that blue is associated with sadness, feeling blue. According to Psychology Today, holiday blues is a real phenomena. Survey findings show that people feel more stress, anxiety, and depression in the period between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. Sometimes grief looms largest in December. December can be especially hard on our emotional systems, and this year may be more difficult than usual. It is the darkest time of year right now, and the skies have been gray for so long, and the sun sets at 4 p.m. Many traditions, cherished or dreaded, will not be making an appearance in our holiday plans this year. People we often gather with in joy or in obligation will be separated, and many alone. Being alone on any given Friday feels different than being alone on Christmas. With all of the personal and family history, the hallmark expectations, the societal pressures of being surrounded by a perfect, loving family. I myself will also miss the rituals that take place in the church community, singing the familiar songs together, the sanctuary decked out in greenery and sparkling lights, the children's palpable excitement, the sharing of cookies and coffee cake, the passing of candlelight hand to hand, person to person, the beauty of each face softly lit by the candles' glow, snow gently falling on our glowing, singing faces. I will miss the small winter rituals this year that create the festive feelings of magic and mystery. We have feelings about all of this, some big feelings, some small and easily ignored. Many of the emotions we experience are intertwined: sadness and relief, loneliness and gratitude, frustration and hope. Some feelings are overwhelming, of loss and grief and fear for our loved ones. Reverend Otis Moss III says, "We have to learn how to lament." In the prophetic tradition, the prophets lament. You can't get through a prophet without them lamenting, crying, and raging at a nation that just refuses to love and to act with justice. He says, it's going to be all right, but we have to face the pain. And facing the pain doesn't mean you become a complete, hopeless cynic. It means that you operate with a level of realism. And I think James Baldwin said it best. He says, for everything you face, not everything you face can be changed, But until you face it, there's no possibility of change. Like the little girl Mel from our reading this morning, sometimes life becomes a little too much of everything. And we want to cover our heads and take a time out to stop for a minute. Maybe we need a quiet place to take those calming breaths, to bring our scattered and splintered feelings. When I am a jumble of emotions, all of them screaming for attention, I often go and sit by the water. Like Wendell Berry's poem, when despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water. The water often, especially around here, isn't really blue in color, but it has blue in it. The qualities of calmness, spaciousness, wateriness that can hold and carry our own blues. We can bring them to the waterside, to the lake or river, or to our own inward sea. There is stillness amidst the churning, moving, flowing, rippling emotion of being alive. And we need to quiet ourselves and our lives enough to feel what needs feeling, to acknowledge our pain, our despair, our grief, and our loss. Take a moment now to check in, to feel. This inner and outer body of water accepts what you carry to its shores. Perhaps you can step into the deep water with your heavy burdens and float. Soften and allow. Feel the stillness that has motion in it. If you look around, you may see other people floating, swimming, dog paddling in this collective sea, in this interconnectivity of humanity. It sometimes helps to remember that you are not alone, that we swim in the deep blue together. I invite you to wrap a blanket or a scarf around you if you have one handy. Wrap it around your shoulders, pull it around you. Let us sit together in stillness, wrapped in the darkness of mid-December, blanketed in soft blue. Feel for a moment what it's like to be wrapped in this stillness, pressed up against your own experiences, your own feelings. Is it cozy and inviting? Is it suffocating? Is it comfortable? Is it itchy? I invite you to be with your own feelings, comfortable or not, wrapped and blanketed, as I tell you a story. This story is called Tear Soup, and it was written originally by Pat Schweibert with adaptations. My grandmother was a good cook and always seemed to be wearing an apron and a smudge of flour on her cheek. She left me many recipes that continue to be our family's favorite foods. But there's one dish she taught me that cannot be contained on an index card in my recipe box. It happened when I was a child, One afternoon, I arrived at her house unexpectedly. Grandma was alone, making soup and crying. Seeing her tears, I felt afraid, sad, and worried. She said that I just happened to show up while she was making tear soup. And since I was a quiet and open-hearted child, I could stay, she said, but I sometimes make this soup alone. But it is good to make it with someone you trust, someone you love. What is tear soup? I wanted to know. Well, she said, you get out a large pot and you start with some water and heat, and you add all the things that your loving, broken, joyful heart is carrying. She said, you walked in while I was adding the tears about your Aunt Evie's miscarriage last month, and your cousin Jack's painful divorce, and my neighbor Francine's sad loss of her husband back in April. I had already added the memory of my sweet, sweet mother, whose birthday was last Tuesday. She was so strong and so brave. Like you, Grandma said, and I smiled. We talked while we chopped the onions and the carrots, and I told Grandma about the story I wrote for English class about picking blueberries last summer and seeing a bear, and that I got an A+. She said we should add tears of joy for my creativity and our family, and maybe a few fearful tears for the bear. We began to laugh at how my sister wanted to bring the bear home for a pet, and Grandma said, laughter sometimes often brings tears. And so we added tears of laughter too. We worked in silence and everything slowed down as we concentrated on making tear soup. Grandma put in a few stinging tears of regret, and I added some hot tears of frustration and bewilderment for the friend I was struggling with. Grandma was angry at the injustices she saw happening in her neighborhood and on the news, and she shed steaming tears of justice to the pot. After a while, I began to feel easy and relaxed inside, and I began to hum. Grandma started to sing, and I added harmony and percussion with some wooden spoons. Soon it was time for me to go home. I gave Grandma a big hug, and I thanked her for teaching me to make tear soup. She said, it's a way to sort through all the different types of feelings, memories, and reactions you have to being a person living in the world. Now I make tear soup when I need to, and I taught my daughter to make it too. May we each bring our own ingredients into this warm and caring circle as we create our own pot of tear soup. While our texts enable the chat feature, I invite you to consider what tears you have right now that can be shared. In the silence and stillness of the next couple minutes, please use the chat feature to write what tears you want to shed right now. Any and all are welcome. Thank you so much. As I read those beautiful messages, I also got tears. Just the sharing of these tears and this and these feelings and this community. I'm so very grateful. I was thinking about the little girl who put her head under the gold tulle dress and how sometimes we feel like doing that, or sometimes I do wish I had a river I could skate away on, or an ocean to cry into. And I think that when I feel that way, I can listen and hear my body saying, be still, be still. Wrap yourself in that stillness and just stop for a minute. You are not alone. You are surrounded by love. Thank you so much for your sharing.
Feeling nice and ready to settle in, sit securely, squiggle around a little bit, and then become still. Slide your eyes close and breathe smoothly. Hands sliding down to your lap, clasped softly. Soft. Secure. Body, be still. Hands rise now, cup gently up by your heart. Surround. Soothe. Heart, be silent. Hands stretched by your head, slanted upward. Simple. Surrender. Mind, be spacious. Hands sinking now to your lap, palms towards your belly. Self, be still. Be serene. Take 3 calming breaths now with a ah sound on the exhale. And then surely open your eyes and retain the deepened connection to your soul.